Okay, so we're going to show up how to set up NMES, so neuromuscular education. So what we're going to do is or electrical stimulation, so this would be when we're doing neuromuscular re-education with using it instead of TENS, which is where it's just for pain relief. So what we're going to use with this is we're going to use this unit instead, the empty unit that's in the drawer under the electrical stimulation supplies. Now we're typically going to do this on a knee, though we could do it some other places, but we'll really only use it for knee patients. So I have Ross here with his pant leg rolled up so we can get to that quad. So the key thing is kind of placing these pads well. So the first pad that you want to put is you always want to put it just on the inside of that kneecap, just above, right in that bulk of the muscle. So we want to get one pad right there because that's the biggest spot we want to have see that muscle contract on there. Now the second one we want to have a little higher up from that. So for this pad, we want to come just above that spot. There you go, Ross. And you want to come a little bit more inside usually to try and get enough of that spot where it can contract the muscle. Now the key thing here is to use enough voltage to be able to make that muscle contract. A lot of patients can't tolerate that. That's usually the hardest part, is that it's painful to get that much voltage into there. So you always want to be considerate of that and see what the patient's feeling. So Ross, I want you to tell me if it starts to get too painful for you. But what I actually want to look for here is I want to look for that muscle starting to contract on its own. So I'm going to start cranking this up, and we're going to watch for that muscle contracting on its, with just that. There we go. Good. Okay, do you think you can lift that up and bring it a little closer there? So I'm going to take this back down. And show that difference on there. So right now it's not contracting, but you're feeling it tingling, right?
Right.
So now I'm gonna crank that up, and we start to see his muscle jump just like that. And I do it a little bit more. You're starting to get a good contraction in that muscle. Now what we want to do with this is we don't want to ever just leave the patient on there and say, okay, just let this do its work. What you want to do is you get it set to that point, and then it's set right now for 10 seconds on and 5 seconds on and 5 seconds off. We can change that. If I write 10 and 10, then we do 10 seconds on and 10 seconds off. But for what we want to do here is, Ross, what I want you to do is when you feel that starting to shock you, I want you to contract with it and try and push your leg flat into the table for me, okay? So now you contract with it, good. So now we're getting both of those things together where Ross's leg is contracting, but also that the unit is helping him to do that.
And then do I let
and
loose?
And then relax, yep. So once that turns off, you're gonna relax, good. And then tighten that back up again, good. And relax. And I always tell my patients too, there's this indicator light on here. When that turns on, that's when that's gonna crank back up. So that's how we know that it's on or off, right? So we can watch that. And it's already set up to be on the 5 second on, 5 second off model. But we can always manipulate that if we need to based on kind of what the therapist has written in. Good. Now we could do this with a quad set like this. This is the most common way that we're going to do it. But if for a certain patient, you may do it for a short arc quad. You may do it with a few other things as well. But that's the most common set. But getting that contraction is what we want to see. So if a patient can't tolerate that, because it's too painful to get it up to that point, you want to either grab the therapist and let them know, see if they can take a look, or put enough strength in there that at least they're getting that strong tingling and almost getting that contraction.